In this video lesson, we'll discuss the second half of the war from 1863 onward. In 1863, the war begins to shift in favor of the North. General Ulysses S. Grant is leading the Army of the Potomac, which is the Union Army. He's also beginning to win important victories in the East. He is responsible for creating the idea of total war, which basically means that you destroy everything that you find in your path that could possibly help your enemy continue to fight the war. And that includes things that civilians own, civilian homes, food sources, crops, anything that can basically help sustain the war. The South will not receive any help from Europe at this point, and we already know that Britain is remaining neutral. And this becomes a war of attrition as well, which means that the side that is going to have the most soldiers left at the end will be the one to win the war. At the Battle of Chancellorsville, Lee's troops are going to end up moving into northern Virginia. And Stonewall Jackson will actually stop for 9 days to visit his wife and his infant daughter, because this was actually a good choice for him, because he would be dead in 3 weeks, because he's going to mistakenly be killed by his own men. At the Battle of Chancellorsville, Robert E. Lee meets General Hooker in Chancellorsville, Virginia, at battle. And the North is going to be outmaneuvered by Robert E. Lee. Also, just something to note, the term hooker comes from the large number of women who followed General Hooker, who can be seen here, from battle to battle. And basically, they were called hookers' girls. And that's why hookers are called hookers. Now we turn to Gettysburg. General Lee and General A.P. Hill headed north for 2 reasons. The first reason they headed to Gettysburg was because they wanted to divert the fighting from the Shenandoah Valley, and Hill's troops actually needed shoes. And there was a rumor that there were shoes at Gettysburg. A lot of the soldiers during that time period did not have shoes, and so they would take shoes off soldiers that had died, but basically they needed shoes, and so that was an important thing to be able to have. They met Union troops under General Meade at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The 3-day battle was very costly for both sides. Picketts Charge up Little Round Top was a charge by General Pickett, was little better than a suicide mission, and we'll discuss Picketts Charge more in class. After 3 days, there were 23,000 Union casualties and 28,000 Confederate casualties. This is actually a picture of the reenactments that take place at Gettysburg. They do a lot of reenactments throughout the year, but the most probably exciting reenactment that they do is during the summertime, when the Battle of Gettysburg took place, from July 1st to July 3rd. Lee is going to retreat from Gettysburg, never to enter the North again. The Union victory at Gettysburg is actually going to be the turning point of the war. The North will continue to win important victories until the South capitulates, which means they give up. Gettysburg lasted from July 1st to July 3rd, 1863. Dead men and horses began to rot in the summer heat, which was drawing flies, rodents, and other animals. The smell carried into the town of Gettysburg, so the town's women took on the task of burying the dead from that battle. Southern soldiers were separated and buried in very shallow graves away from the town. The Union soldiers were divided by state and buried in a series of semicircles that can be seen here, and if you ever get the chance to visit the Gettysburg battlefield. Abraham Lincoln comes to dedicate the cemetery and give the Gettysburg Address in November of 1863. He was the second speaker that day, but he spoke for only 2 minutes. He used the speech to refocus attention to the Declaration of Independence, declaring that all men are created equal. We'll talk more about the Gettysburg Address and the impact that it had on the war in our lessons in class.